I simply don't like going against my mother's wishes.
Well, as long as she stays here, she can get neither the rest nor the attention that she requires.
I suppose you're right.
Well, of course I'm right. You saw her just now. Laura. I didn't hear you knock.
The door was open. All this excitement, what's going on?
Why, don't you know? Oh, of course you don't know. Liz has become ill.
Really? What's wrong?
Well, nobody seems to know. They're going to have to take her to Boston for observation.
Oh, that's awful. I'm terribly sorry.
Are you really?
Yes, of course I am. I know how much Liz hates to leave this place.
One would think that her going away would fit in with your plans perfectly.
Well, regardless of my plans, I still feel very sorry for your mother.
How very generous of you. But then you probably think you can afford to be generous now. Well, don't be too sure of that.
She's getting to be more and more like me every day.
Roger, I want you to tell me exactly what happened.
We found Liz at the foot of the stairs. She was unconscious. The doctor can't diagnose her here, and she refuses to leave.
Well, obviously, she has to.
Well, I wouldn't be too sure of Liz having to do anything that she doesn't want to do.
Well, what are you going to do?
Try to get her into a hospital in spite of herself. I must say, this situation doesn't hurt you either. The one thing she was adamant about was that you not get David.
But if you want me to have him...
I'm not going to upset her while she's this way.
But with Liz in the hospital, things would be a lot easier.
If we can get Carolyn to get her to the hospital. You know, Carolyn is her daughter. She will be in charge here.
Yes, but in her condition, she has to go.
Well, with women, one can never tell. Carolyn might keep Liz here just to thwart you.
What has she got against me?
Well, until you came here, her best beau was one Burke Devlin, who seems to have other interests now.
Roger, I've told you I don't want Burke.
Well, you'd better mean it, because I can be pretty nasty myself.
You know the only thing I want is David. And Liz is not going to stop me from getting him.
Well, I'm not so sure that even if Liz is in the hospital, you know, she can be a difficult woman.
How?
Well, as long as she can speak, she can always give orders to her lawyer or to Carolyn.
Yes, well, that might not be a problem.
What was that?
What is it? It's Father. Father?
What's the matter?
It's his daughter.
Liz.
Father.
Liz, speak to me. Liz!
She can't speak.
I'm glad we're such good friends.
Oh, I was never mad at you, really.
But we're better friends now than ever before, aren't we?
Yes, I like you.
I'm glad. David, I hope you mean that.
Oh, I do. Honest.
I believe you. You know what? I think it'd be fun if you came over and spent the night sometime. Would you like that?
Oh, I would. Oh, we could stay up real late and keep the fire going.
Yes, that's exactly what I thought. Oh, I'm looking forward to it. We're going to have such a good time together. Everything is going to be wonderful for us, David. David, we must never let anyone come between us.
Who would want to do that?
Well, I don't know. There was someone who might... But that will never happen.
Okay, but you don't have to tell me when to eat.
I'm responsible for what you eat, too.
Yes, but my mother's in charge of something, isn't she?
She's in charge of the things that I'm not in charge of.
Well, that's no fair. You're in charge of everything. And there won't be any time for me to be with my mother.
Of course there will.
Well, I promised I'd take care of her fire tomorrow.
You did?
Yes, she let me do it today, and I did a good job of it, so I can do it whenever I want.
She let you tend the fire?
Yes, and tomorrow morning I have to bring logs for her. I'll be busy and working all the time. Because my mother likes to sit and look at the fire. And so do I.
David, I wish that you wouldn't do that. It's dangerous.
My mother says I can, and you have nothing to say about it.
We'll see how much I have to say about it.
You're just trying to keep me from seeing my mother.
David! Miss Winters would never do a thing like that. I'm quite sure.
Mother!
David. Hello, Mrs. Collins.
Hello, Vicky. David, you shouldn't say things like that to Miss Winters.
But they're true. She doesn't want me to be with you.
David, I never said anything like that.
I'm sure you didn't. David, I want you to apologize.
But she's trying to give me a lot to do so I won't be able to see you.
That's not true. Is it, Vicky?
No, it isn't.
You see?
Yes, but she said that I couldn't have breakfast with you in the morning.
I didn't quite say that.
Well, what did you say?
He's fallen behind in his studies. We've got a lot of catching up to do, and so we need all the time we can get. I suggested that you have breakfast with us, up here.
Well, I had no idea you were falling behind in your work. I'm very surprised.
Well, I'm not that behind. I mean, I could catch up like that.
Well, in that case, I suggest that you do so, and then we'll be able to have our private little breakfasts. I'm sure that day after tomorrow would be all right. Wouldn't it, Vicky?
Well, I don't think he can catch up enough in one day.
Oh. Well, how long would you say?
I'm not sure.
I see. Well, why don't you run along upstairs to bed so that you can get a nice, bright and early start in the morning and get all that studying over with, hmm?
Oh, well, okay.
Good night, darling.
Good night. Good night, Miss Winters.
I'll come up and see you before you go to sleep.
Dream well, dear.
I will.
I didn't realize that I was keeping David from his studies.
I didn't mean to blame you. It's not your fault. But you must understand that Mrs. Stoddard's so sick. Well, we have to try and keep things running as smoothly as possible.
Oh, I agree with you completely. You're a very bright and loyal girl.
Thank you.
Did you notice how I backed you up about David's studies?
Yes?
And how willing I was to make adjustments?
Yes, you saved me from quite a scrap with him.
Oh, I'm very glad about that. However, I am a little disappointed in you, Vicky.
Why?
Well, because you were so helpful to me in that very difficult beginning with David. But right now, you're not backing me up. I wonder why. Can you tell me?
I don't know.
What's happened between us? Is it something that I've said or done?
I'm not sure anything has happened between us.
Well, I can tell that something has. I just wonder if Elizabeth Stoddard has anything to do with it.
No.
I would feel terrible if I thought you were really trying to keep me away from David.
Mrs. Collins, whatever I do it for David. Now, you can't ask for more than that.
Oh, yes, I can. David is my son. I represent his past, his future. I think you should recognize this. Stand behind me.
I'm doing the best I can.
No, you're not. You're drifting away. Vicky, stay with me. Please, you understand more than anyone else does. You can help me the most.
Of course, I want to help you. But I have my responsibilities.
To David or to Mrs. Stoddard?
To both.
Don't you also have them to yourself?
Yes. To make the right decision.
Well then, for your sake, I hope you do so. Because no matter what, I will get David.